Jerry Snyder, also have a nickname of Kelly. I'm the founder and CEO of an organization called the Find Me Group Incorporated.
What is your group?
It consists of retired law enforcement, forensic experts, search and rescue, which includes our 2 airplanes, our dive team, and we also have K9 that are certified in search, track, and cadaver.
Okay, very good. Can you talk about, I guess maybe a controversial element of your group is the use of psychics?
Correctly, we have approximately 97 psychics in the group, and that total of membership goes up and down, but it's fairly consistent around 80. And in the last 21 years, using psychic information only, we have solved or resolved 121 cases.
How did you get involved in the Dia Abrams case?
I got a contact request from the fiance, a guy by the name of Keith Harper, and he requested our organization look into her disappearance.
And when was that?
I believe it was about a year after she went missing, maybe a little bit less, maybe 10 months after she went missing.
So 2021?
Correct.
How did that progress and what happened after that?
Well, within a period of maybe 2 months, I did assign the case to the members and received information back and contacted the detective in charge of the investigation for Riverside County Sheriff's Department, and then sent him all of the information that I had received from the members.
What information did you receive?
Well, I received quite a bit of information of, what the members thought, who was involved and why she disappeared. And then they also provided me, which is a requirement of the membership, to give me GPS coordinates of where they believed she would be located, whether alive or deceased. And about 95% of the members stated that she was deceased, and then provided GPS coordinates, which I ultimately gave to the Sheriff's Department.
And how many members were that identified those? And these are psychics. How many of them identified this general area?
Well, general area was partially in the ranch area, close to the ranch. And then 1 or 2 people had information with regards to Lake Hemet, which is approximately a mile, maybe 2 miles away from the ranch.
So how many members in all identified either the ranch, or how many were you working with that identified these locations?
There was about 27 members that responded, and subsequent to that, I offered the case again to about 10 new members and started receiving similar information as to what I had received originally from 1 or 2 members. And that is what, prompted ultimately a search that we then, conducted later on.
Okay, when did that first search take place? And that was in the Lake Hemet area?
Yeah, it was, well, we did the entire ranch, all 116 acres. And that took place on August the 10th. And we went to Lake Hemet on the 11th and did a search of that particular area, specifically to a location that was located near the spillway. And we had approximately, I think it was 4 members that identified a specific area, each member providing that information without the knowledge of the others providing the same information. And they all were within anywhere from 30 to 60 feet to 100 feet from each other. So that's what we concentrated our first search on with our canine support.
The spillway, which would be the far west side of the lake.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the direction, but it's at the very end of the lake. And I just don't know whether it's north, south, east, or west at this point.
Where the dam is.
Correct.
Okay. Um, so when, I'm sorry, when did you say that took place, those two searches in
Yeah, the first search was on the 10th of August
what
of
year?
2023. And then we searched the ranch completely that day. And then partially on day number 11 of August, we searched the ranch one or two different places that we were unable to complete the first day. And then on day number 2 and 3 is when we went to Lake Hemet.
I thought you did a search before then with divers before 2023. Is that not true?
That was conducted by the sheriff's department, not our team.
Okay, well let's back up to that first search, because that first search, you said about a year after she went missing, some of your members alerted to this area, and that resulted in a sheriff's search around Lake Hemet. Is that right?
That's correct. And that was directly in the lake. And the other members that came up with information later was on the outskirts of the lake near the spillway.
When did that sheriff's search take place?
I'm really not sure. I mean, I was told at the time that they did it, but I just don't remember the date. Or I think it was in year 2022, but I'm not 100% sure of that.
And that search was via sheriff divers in a boat?
Correct. I just received information from Mr. Harper that that's how it occurred. I don't have any personal knowledge of how they did it, but for the most part, they would have had to approach the area from a boat.
Okay, and that was in the spillway area?
No, it was almost smack dab in the middle of the lake.
Very good. So that was about a year after she disappeared. And then fast forward to 2023 in August, uh, you did another two searches of the ranch, or 3 day search of the ranch and then the lake near the spillway.
Yeah, it was about a 1.5 day search of the ranch because it's quite a large area. And then the same day on day number 2 is when we went to Lake Hemet and started searching a specific area on the right side of the spillway as it faces the town of Hemet.
As you're in the lake looking at the dam, it's to the right.
Correct.
Um, how did you end up, being involved with Keith Harper on this? Because as you know, he's a person of interest in the case. Did that give you any concerns?
Well, not really. I mean, even though we were aware that he was a person of interest, he was the one that requested our team to, see if we could locate Miss Abrams. And, that's exactly what we do. So on numerous occasions, families of people that are missing will come to our search area, but we do not allow them on the search. They can stay in our command center or in the general vicinity of where we're searching, but they're not allowed to be with us on the search.
So and I understand you were staying at the Bonita Vista Ranch during these August searches. Were you staying
Correct.
in cabins, or where were you staying?
Well, there's a main house, which some of the handlers stayed in. There's various rooms on the main floor. And then myself and several other support staff stayed in a cabin, which is basically a small house, about 2,300 square feet.
At Keith Harper's invitation, you stayed there?
Correct.
Okay. How many people are we talking about?
I believe there were 7 people on the first search.
7 people stayed at the ranch for these initial searches in
Correct.
2023, August 2023?
Correct.
Okay. Um, What you had cadaver dogs on the ranch search?
Correct.
How many?
A total of 3.
What happened on the ranch search on the first day?
Just we searched all the areas that were provided to us by the members. And then we did basically a canvas search, which is just allowing the dogs to run free range to see if they would pick up any kind of a cadaver scent. And, that pretty much ended the rest of the day. It took us all the way up until about 6 p.m. that night when we just finally ended our search of the ranch.
Any alerts by the dogs?
None.
Okay, so then you decided to move down to Lake Hemet.
Yeah, we had one more area to search on the ranch the morning of the second day. And then within an hour or two, we were on our way to Lake Hemet.
What was that one other area on the ranch?
Uh, I don't recall. It was on, I think, the northeast end of the ranch, and it was just because when we talked about and did our debriefing the night of the first day, that was an area that none of the dogs had covered. So we went back and searched that area, and then ended that search at about 6 p.m. at night.
Where was Keith Harper when you were searching the ranch?
He was at the ranch, but he wasn't on any of the searches.
He didn't go along with the dogs or anything like that.
No, we do not allow that.
Well, did you have any concerns for your own safety staying on the ranch with Keith Harper, who was a person of interest in the case?
None. No, we were aware of his involvement as far as what the police had described him as a person of interest, but he is the entity that requested our assistance, and I didn't have any qualms of staying at the ranch.
Did you try to search any of the septic tanks on the ranch by any chance?
Well, not specifically going to the septic tanks, but obviously the dogs came across several of them, and there was still no interest. It's not something that the dogs would necessarily alert on.
Okay, tell me about this second day, the search down at the lake which I guess would be the north side of the dam. If you're looking at the dam from in a boat on the lake, it would be to the right. That's the
Correct.
area.
Yeah, as you're looking at the spillway, it would be to the right of the lake at the very end of the lake.
What does the area look like? And kind of take me through the search process and what happened.
Yeah, from the road that accesses the spillway, going to the left down towards the lake, it's just a bunch of shrubs, trees, and just an incredible amount of downfall, trees that have fallen, and then a lot of huge boulders that have either placed themselves there from coming down from the mountain. But, it's 20, 30, 40 years of debris that's just down there, and it's not really easily accessible by humans. So on the very first day of that search by the lake, we ran into just a ton of problems trying to get our dogs into the area that the members were providing us with GPS coordinates, largely due to the fact that it was deep down crevices towards the lake. And then with all the down trees, it was almost impossible to get in there with our dogs without our harnesses for the dogs. So we decided to not take the dogs in there, but we did, several of our search members climbed down into that area just to see how difficult it would be to get our dogs in. And we decided at that time it would be almost impossible. So we decided that we would come back later with our boat.
Okay, and how this area that was inaccessible, how far away from a dirt road would that have been?
Well, it's pretty much coexistent with the road. It's just once you're on the right side of the road looking down at the lake, it goes down anywhere from 80 to 90 feet. And then, like I said, it was just covered with debris and shrub and almost impossible to get in there. And that's where the dogs showed interest. And that's the reason we concentrated on that area on the second search, is because all three dogs showed interest. There was a breeze coming up from the lake, which that breeze comes directly up to the road. And that's where the dogs were physically trying to get down into the area, but we restrained them just because it was so dangerous.
Okay, let's back up. So you arrived at that area with your dogs on a dirt road, and they indicated they wanted to go down into that area?
Yeah, they showed what's considered interest in the area because they're smelling human decomposition. And all three dogs, we take them one at a time. We don't have all three dogs there simultaneously. So the first dog showed interest, then we went and got the second dog, and then the third dog, and all three showed interest in the exact same area,
Indicating what?
indicating that they believe down somewhere towards the lake was human remains.
How far away from the lake were they, or where you think the scent was coming from? Were the dogs during these initial alerts?
Well, to be honest, we have no idea. They're determining it based on something that's coming through the wind. That can literally be anywhere from 5 feet to a half a mile. And we've had dogs alert a half a mile, 3/4 of a mile away where we actually did find someone that was deceased. So it just depends on the weather, the conditions of the land, and where the wind is blowing, and all these factors come into play. And we had no idea where the dogs were receiving this scent, but we knew it was in the general vicinity of where we were standing.
Where was Keith Harper when this happened?
He was back towards the gate, which is a gate that's provided by the Hemet Lake Public Works or whoever they are. And we didn't allow him to go past the gate because we didn't want him anywhere near where the search is, number one. And number two, people that are not part of our search organization, we don't allow them to be close to the dogs because we don't want them to disrupt what the dogs are trying to do.
So it was a locked gate and they let you in there because of your search efforts?
Yeah, the Hemet Lake Public Works people just happened to be in the area on the day that we were doing the search, and they just opened the gate for us.
Is the gate generally locked, or can a member of the public at any time drive up that road, or some access to that area with a vehicle?
Anyone can access it with a vehicle. You just can't get through the gate because it's locked, and there's a big chain across the gate where the gate opens, and then a huge lock that is a key lock. And that's when the Public Works individual from Hemet Lake opened the gate for us, and we just walked through.
Well, what I'm asking for, do you know whether a car can get up into that area at any other time when you weren't there? Could someone drive up there and a member of the public just go up into that same general vicinity?
In the same general vicinity, yes, but they can't get through the gate. Now, the Public Works technician did tell us that the gate has been breached on numerous occasions where people just cut the lock and break open the gate and go through. And he said that's happened on his particular shift. It's happened probably 10 or 15 times where the gate has just been breached. Someone just broke the gate open by cutting the bolt and cutting the lock.
Okay, how far away is the gate from where the three dogs got a scent in the wind of human decomposition? How far away is that gate?
Probably 100 yards, maybe a little bit more.
All right, very good. So then what happened after those initial alerts from a distance?
we just decided that it was too dangerous for the dogs. So then we had made arrangements to come back on the second search, and we, went back to the ranch and did our debriefing and decided that we would just come back and bring our boat so we could approach it from the lake and let the dogs roam. We still had to clear the area because it was just so badly covered with brush and downfall. But ultimately, after about 45 minutes to an hour, we got it cleared and then allowed the dogs to go in there. And that's when they did an actual alert rather than a showing of interest. They actually alerted on a specific area.
So this happened on the third day then? You went back and got the boat?
No, this was on a separate month. It was approximately, I think it was 9 or 10 weeks later. It was November the 9th is when we went back with our boat. And that's when the dogs alerted on a specific area.
What do you mean clear the area before the dogs could go in?
There was just a ton of brush, and just pretty much everything you could think of was down there. It's mostly huge branches and branches from trees, shrubs that, were broken, and some not broken, but that we had to break literally to get our dogs into the area and just clear the area so it would be safe, not only for the dogs, but for the humans that were controlling the dogs.
And on this November 9th search, you stayed at the Bonita Vista Ranch again?
Correct.
And where was Keith Harper when you took the boat into the area?
He was back at the gate on the same road that I described earlier.
Okay, so you brought the dogs in via boat one at a time to this same area on November 9th?
No, all the dogs were on the boat, but we only take one dog in at a time.
Okay, so describe to me what happened as you got there with the boat. I assume you disembarked the boat and went on to land. Can you kind of talk me through what happened?
Well, like I say, it took us at least 45 minutes to an hour to completely clear out the area so that we could literally allow our dogs to get on the ground without being injured. And essentially, it was just a matter of, using a machete kind of a tool to sort of clear the area. And then within an hour and a half is when we released our dogs one at a time. And within about 20 minutes, they alerted on a specific area.
What does that look like for each dog? And I understand only two of the three dogs alerted during this search. Is that correct?
Yeah, they do different. Each dog does a different alert. Some dogs will lay down and not move until you acknowledge or recognize that they're telling you it's an alert. Some dogs sit, some dogs bark. In this particular case, both dogs actually laid down, and that was their message to the handler that they're saying that there's human remains there.
Both dogs laid down?
Correct.
And so did you find any human remains, or what do you do next?
Well, whatever it was probably buried underneath the soil, and it's not up to us to uncover what the remains are because it's potentially a crime scene. So essentially what we do is mark it with our GPS coordinates, and then we use various different means of marking it with either in this particular case, we used pine cones, but sometimes we'll use a flag. It just sort of depends what we have in our gear. And that's how we usually mark an area so that when the police do come back to that area, if we're not physically there, then we can tell them where exactly to go. And then they also have the GPS coordinates.
Why didn't the third dog go down there?
The handler on that particular dog was searching another area, and it wasn't anything that we provided to that handler. It was just an area that we wanted to clear and just make sure that there was nothing there that the dogs might be interested in. just because on the first search, we didn't know exactly 100% where that scent was coming from. So the third handler took off and just completely did a search of an entire area, which took about an hour and a half. And by the time the dog got back, it was so tired it basically couldn't even hardly walk. It was so tired, and she shouldn't have kept him out that long. But basically, it was such a rough area; it just took her that long to get back.
Okay, I appreciate you going into all this detail with me. It's very interesting. So, can you tell me, do you think that these two dogs alerted on the remains of Dia Abrams?
Well, no, there's no way for us to know who it is or what it is. That's something that we have to leave up to the police, just on the possibility that it is a crime scene. We don't want to do anything that might destroy any potential evidence.
Did you look around for any body parts or anything that they could have been alerting on?
Well, obviously, we're looking for anything that might represent, human remains, and we're also looking for clothing. We're looking for backpacks, anything that might identify that a human has been in that area. And we didn't see anything that would identify anything that at that particular day that Dia went missing, anything that she was wearing. We were aware of what she had on at a specific time when she was still alive and at the ranch, but we don't know when she disappeared exactly what she was wearing. We were just looking for clothing and anything of any type that would possibly tell us that it represents something that Dia had.
Were you in the boat with the dogs, and were you on the ground in the area where the area was being cleared before the dogs went in?
No, I was on the road looking down at the area that they were clearing, and that's about 80 to 90 feet away.
So you're on the road above.
Correct.
And once the dogs alerted, did you go down into the area to look at it yourself?
No, I did not.
Who did?
No one from that was up on the road. The only people that were down there were the three handlers and the three dogs.
Can you give me the range of things they might alert on that indicates human remains? I mean, a small amount of blood, or what are we talking about?
Well, if it's something that's recent, it could be as a tampon, or it could be a Band-Aid that has blood on it, and the dog would alert on that. We do provide such infinitesimal amounts of decomp just so that the dog will alert on an entire human body or something as small as a Band-Aid. So this way the dog is alerting on human remains regardless of the amount.
Okay, do you have any concerns that Harper was involved in your initial search from 2021, and then he called you back and invited you to the ranch um, in 2023, that he could have planted some sort of human remains or blood or something in that area in that year between your two searches, that he knew you were coming back and he could have planted something for them to alert on?
Well, until we actually physically arrived at the ranch, he had no idea where we were searching. The only ones that knew that information was the sheriff's department.
Well,
And
Harper
I
was
do
aware.
know that he was.
Wasn't Harper aware that the sheriff's department had gone into Lake Hemet and done an initial search in 2021?
Yeah, in the middle of the lake, and I don't remember how he found that out unless the sheriff's department notified him, but he was aware that they were there and they were searching, and I believe he physically went out on the lake while they were doing the search, and I believe he said that they told him that he had to get off the lake while they were doing the search.
Wow.
But
Now, that was a year before your searches with the dogs took place.
correct. Yeah, the information on any of these areas for searching was only given to the sheriff's department. We didn't provide any of that to Mr. Harper.
But at any rate, you have no indication that Harper may have planted anything for you to alert on before you actually arrived. in August of 2023?
There's no way he could have because he had no idea where we were going to do a search.
Okay, very good. So what have you done with this information?
We compiled the information, created a search report, and then I sent that report to the sheriff's department on November 12th or 13th. And the detective in charge of the investigation wrote back to me in an email and confirmed that they had received it and thanked us for it. And then in a response back to the detective, I told them that if they were to get their search and rescue people out on the area that we searched, to make sure that they approached the area from the lake because it was too dangerous to approach it from the road. And he once again responded and thanked me for the information. And that's the last time I spoke to him.
Do you have any indication that they're going to search this area?
I have no idea.
Why are you doing this media interview today? Telling me about this.
Well, I mean, it's important just to keep the case active. And, we put a lot of time and effort into this. So anything and everything to keep the public aware that she's still missing, I think is important. So I guess that would be my major motivation. And then, we spend a lot of time training these dogs and doing what we do. So it's important for us to keep not trying to take credit for anything. That's up to the police department to do what they need to do. But just to keep the public aware that she's still missing as far as we know. And I think that's important.
All right. Are you aware of Keith Harper? Well, Keith Harper has been in communication with me regarding a burglary at the ranch involving two men and a female. How does that play into all of this?
Well, when the members in the group provided information on not only the location, there were at least, I believe it was 11 members stated that the people that were responsible for taking Dia and abducting her was two males and a female. And that always was significant to us because so many members provided that same information. And then when two males and a female were arrested stealing various items from the ranch, somewhat, not close to when Dia went missing, but it just seemed awfully coincidental that two men and one woman would be the same description of the same type of individuals that were described literally, a year after Dia went missing. And then here in 2023, they're arrested leaving the ranch with a bunch of stolen items.
The members who identified two males and a female are the psychics.
Correct.
You think this burglary may have something to do or interesting because it's two men and a woman who I have confirmed were involved in this burglary at the ranch, that kind of matches up with the description of the people who your psychics believed were involved in her disappearance.
Yes.
Anything else you can say about that?
Well, not really. I mean, I don't know who these individuals are. I mean, I later did receive information of the names of the people, but I don't know what they look like. The people that were described by my members may fit the three that were found and arrested for the burglary, but I can't determine that unless I get a photograph of the individuals that were arrested. And then I did mention to the lead detective, who was not even aware of the burglary because he said he was in court, and asked him if he was going to interview these three people with regards to the disappearance of Dia. And he said that he was going to do that.
Okay, well, it looks like my Zoom time is running out right now, but I will send you some mugshots of those three individuals if you're interested. Although you have nothing to compare those mugshots to, right?
No, I do. The members already provided me a description of the 3 members they believe took Dia, and I can compare that, or I'll provide those photographs to the members. I won't tell them who the people are. I'll just say, do any of these people resemble anything that you've looked at or that you've worked on, and let them tell me if in fact they are involved or they believe they're involved. And it won't mean much evidentiary other than it'll mean something to me, and then I'll pass that on to the lead detective.
Okay. Well, as you know, there's a $300,000 reward now for information that leads to her remains and to the conviction of a possible suspect. Do you think that will help?
Well, I hope it helps someone, but we don't accept money from anyone connected to the family or friends of anyone that's missing. So if they find Dia with the information we provided, we can't and won't accept the money.